There's a ton of noise out there. So how do you get decision makers to pay attention to your brand? Start a podcast and invite your ideal clients to be guests on your show. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to the B2B Growth Show, a podcast dedicated to helping B2B executives achieve explosive growth. Whether you're looking for techniques and strategies or tools and resources, you've come to the right place. I'm James Carberry.
And I'm Jonathan Green.
Let's get into the show. Welcome back to the B2B Growth Show. We are here today with Natalie Lambert. She's the VP of Marketing at Sapho. Natalie, how are you doing today?
Great, James. How are you?
I am wonderful. So, Natalie, we're going to be talking about modernizing the workplace and really what the role that technology plays in how we're going to be modernizing the workplace. But before we get into that, Natalie, I'd love for you to explain to our listeners, what is Sapho, and you and your team, what are you guys all about over there?
Yeah, absolutely. We're about changing how people work at the end of the day. We really look at how people work, the systems that they're using, and recognizing that there's a disconnect in the systems that they use, how people want to use it, and just their ability to use these systems. And so what we're trying to do is actually change that experience, change the experience of work. We're looking to provide what we'll kind of call a modern portal experience, that ability to aggregate everything that is important to employees, whether it be information from their different systems, whether it be the activities or tasks that they have to get done, aggregate that and present personalized information to people from all of their existing systems in that single place so that they can get work done faster.
I love it. So we've got a lot of stuff that we're going to cover today. So I'd love to just jump right in. As we were talking offline, there's obviously these legacy platforms that companies are using that and I don't know if we want to name names or not. I'll let you. I'll let you make that call. But they're incredibly hard from a UI perspective. People are not embracing them. They're not comfortable to work in. Can you talk to our listeners about that problem that you see and what you see the solution being for the person in the organization that has the ability to change that?
Yeah, absolutely. Now you mentioned what are those legacy systems? If you look at Gartner's definition, they'll actually go back to say anything as recent as really 5 years ago. So we're talking about legacy systems being what we use every day. So Everybody, I think, listening to this will know what I mean by these systems. These are systems that are just simply hard to use. They are hard to navigate. They, hide your data in multiple different places. I know in my history of using all these different applications, there are times when I'm using an HR application and have to reteach myself how to use these systems every single time I log in. Yeah. So these are just systems that, hold super important data for the organization, but do so in a manner that can be very, very hard for employees to navigate. And so, they range from everything from systems that companies are using that were developed 30 years ago, to systems that are relatively new and being implemented now. But again, these are just systems that, were designed in a fantastic manner to store data and manipulate data, but just probably weren't designed with the user experience in mind.
Yeah. And so the solution to that, as we were talking offline, you said, is to have applications that sit on top of those kind of systems of record, if you will, but those systems being much more user-friendly. They operate like tools that your employees are already using every day, Facebook, OpenTable, different platforms like that. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, so you think about these systems of record, and organizations are making some big decisions right now. They're saying, do we rip and replace them and bring in something new, or do we find some way to modernize them? But as I said, for those organizations that are looking at that rip and replace model, what their alternatives are really are much better. It might be an easier deployment model, but it's certainly not an easier user experience. So that alternative is, how do we modernize them? And when we look at this, we look at, okay, what has changed with the application landscape in the past 5, 10 years? What do employees want from applications? And I think mobile taught us so much. Mobile taught us that, there's an app that does very little bite-sized things and that people can get things done very, very quickly. They've learned that these apps have taught employees that, I should only receive stuff that's personalized to me and important to the work or to the activities that I'm doing. And if you think about kind of how mobile has trained today's employees, you start to think about how can we bring that experience to the enterprise and do that on top of these amazing systems of record and kind of remove that user experience layer from those systems and really create a new system of engagement. And so that's really what we think about. We think about, how can we provide a new experience that sits across all of these systems, that aggregates all of the important data that an individual employee might need, the individual task that they might need to complete, and how can we present that to them in a single way, kind of like a feed. Think like Facebook. How can we present all of that information to them so that they can very quickly take a nice scan of the important data, the activities that they have to get done, and actually complete all those activities from that very specific place instead of having to log into each of those individual applications and use those user experiences, which we know, people don't like doing.
Yeah. So one thing that we talked about offline, Natalie, you mentioned this craze for mobile first, but you push back on that a little bit.
Absolutely.
Talk to us about your thoughts on mobile first.
Yeah, absolutely. Mobile taught us so much, right? Mobile changed a lot about what we do in computing. As I said before, we kind of expect, we have different types of apps. We want smaller, more concise ways of doing things. And I think mobile, taught us and brought that level of expectation to the workplace. The problem is, I think we've gone into a mobile kind of crazy standpoint, which is people think that, we can only create those type of applications or those type of experiences on mobile. And I would say that is where part of this problem is. Now is the time to take those learnings, take those experiences and start to bring them to employees wherever they are. I think one of the worst things that can happen is somebody sitting there on their desktop being very, very productive, needing to do something and recognizing that they should probably switch devices to be able to accomplish a task because it's easier on that mobile device. Why can't we bring that simple experience to the desktop too, or really bring that experience to whatever channel an employee wants to be in? That might be a messenger client. That might be their intranet. It could be even their email. But the idea is that these way of accomplishing quick tasks and getting quick pieces of information should be available to employees wherever they are and not just on that mobile device. So I think that, mobile taught us a lot. That's great. And let's really focus on making mobile just one area and bringing those levels of experiences to employees wherever they are, because that's where we'll start to see the productivity gains.
Natalie, are you familiar with a tool called Trello?
I am. We use it quite a bunch.
So when I think about what you're talking about here, a lot of our workflow is built inside Trello. And so with the way that you can tag people in comments and the way that you can assign things to certain people within your organization and then put due dates on it, all of that is then delivered to you via notification. So I am only looking at cards in Trello if someone has mentioned me in a comment or if they've assigned me to it. Is that kind of what is that the style of engagement that you're looking to create on top of these kind of legacy systems?
I think that's a great analogy, but that's for one system. Now imagine that on a much wider scale. Okay. So the way I'd more explain it is think about your Facebook feed, right? Yep. You've got all of these different cards of all of your friends that are doing different things. What if each of those cards were instead your expense system telling you that one of your employees submitted an expense report and it's now time for you to approve it? Or if one of your employees just did a PTO request and you want to go review it and decide if you're going to approve it or not. Or if something like for me, something happens on our website and our traffic completely spikes. That could be a really good thing because, maybe an article is published or maybe it could be some type of attack on our website. So some big change that the system deems it's very important for me to know. So sending me a card that tells me that, in the last hour, web traffic has gone up 5,000%. So it's about presenting information in that single feed so that, yes, as you said, in terms of Trello, where you get tagged, this is only things that are very relevant to you. So that paradigm is exactly the same. But being able to have this feed of information and tasks that are only for you. And then in this case, not only can you look at them, but you can actually complete that workflow from this feed. So when I get a notification from Expensify, as an example, saying that somebody on my team has submitted an expense report, I can look at it, look at all the details, and approve or reject right there, and have my action actually get written back to that system of record. Because again, we're completely leveraging that system of record, but while providing this interface that people know and love and understand.
No, that makes perfect sense. And so obviously, this being, what Sapho is and what you guys do, as I'm thinking through that, I'm thinking, man, this sounds perfect. What does a rollout look like? Is this something that typically takes 3 to 6 months to get up and running, depending on the level of complexity? And, obviously, it's not like the algorithm of Facebook where it learns what you need and what you want.
I'm going to stop you there, James.
Okay.
So let me answer the first question, then I'll go to address the second one. But in terms of a rollout, we do it with our customers in less than an hour.
Wow.
It is a Java WAR file that goes right into your application server. It's an on-premises deployment. Some people might question us for that, given that so many things are moving to the cloud. But we'd argue that when you look at our large enterprise customer base, their most important data is absolutely sitting on premises. They are not wanting to transfer that data into the cloud. So while we offer a virtual private cloud offering, most of our customers use this on-prem installation.
Okay.
So we drop this file, and then you start connecting to your different applications and creating micro apps. We can be up and running with micro apps in an hour, and micro apps can be created in 15 minutes.
Cow. That's
so
incredible.
it's unreal. Our customers are shocked when we go into these environments. Now, the thing that I wanted to stop you is you brought up this idea of essentially machine learning, right?
Yeah.
And does the system learn what you want? Absolutely. Machine learning is core to what we do, because we want to make sure that we're always presenting employees with stuff that's relevant to them. So we have a lot of machine learning technologies that starts to monitor not only the cards that I engage with and spend time hovering over, but also what people like me, other people in marketing, other executives, what have you, what cards they're engaging with. And when they start to see a lot of people maybe in my org engaging with a very specific card, maybe it will throw it into my feed to see if it's something that I engage with. Or better yet, if it's something that's in my feed and I never engage with it, maybe it starts to remove that content. So there is that machine learning capability, but there's also a way to kind of get to that much faster, which is me as a user being able to turn off notifications, being able to turn off cards. If I had to deal with, our CEO had to deal with a notification every time somebody was going to be out for a day, I think he'd go nuts.
Yeah.
But if he can change that to say, I only want to be notified if somebody's going to be gone for a week or 2 weeks, you should being able to customize your feed, because if you can customize it, you can make it personal to you. And the more personal we can make this feed, the more it's something that employees don't want to let go of.
That makes perfect sense. And so getting started, the employee basically says, okay, these are the cards that I want to see. So I want to see my expenses. I want to see, whatever that case may be. But then as it starts to deliver those cards to them, the ones that they're not engaging with as much, the machine learning would kick in and maybe not show that card as frequently, because even though they said, hey, I want to see this, they're not really engaging with it. Am I understanding that right?
Yeah. I think initially things are more assigned from the administrator level.
Got it.
So they kind of say everyone in marketing, everyone in sales, all employees, what have you, will get this. It's more an opt-out than an opt-in. But yes, you've got it right. At that point, it starts to monitor what's happening and determine, is this actually information that you want to be engaging with? And quite frankly, you can just shut it off too if you hate the level of information being provided to you in the first place.
That's incredible. Natalie, if there's somebody listening, maybe they want to learn more about what this can look like for their organization, learn more about Sapho, or they want to connect with you on this stuff, what's the best way for them to go about doing both of those things?
Yeah, absolutely. Visit sapho.com. We've got some great videos. If you go to the Racer Center, where we show exactly how this all works, how this all comes together, how easy it is to create apps. You'll see that our CTO was recently on the keynote stage at IBM, and they actually did an entire deployment and built apps in a 45-minute session. So it's not just taking my word for it. You can actually watch it up on stage. But yeah, do look at all of that, and feel free to engage with me directly. Natalie at sapho.com, and I'm also on Twitter, NF Lambert. And always looking forward to chatting with anyone. It's been fun to watch this transition of work.
Oh, yeah. And so that is sapho.com. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Awesome, Natalie. Well, thank you so much for your time today. This has been fantastic. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, James. Really appreciate it.
To ensure that you never miss an episode of the B2B Growth Show, subscribe to the show in iTunes or your favorite podcast player. This guarantees that every episode will get delivered directly to your device.
If you'd like to connect with B2B executives from all over the world, make sure to join our private Facebook community. There are some incredible conversations happening inside this group. To join, visit b2bgrowthshow.com/FB.
Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.